All right, good afternoon and welcome to today's program, Women in Law Section Virtual Book Club Meeting, Lifestyle Lawyer Revolution, sponsored by the Women in Law Section and the Committee on Continuing Legal Education of the New York State Bar Association. This afternoon's program will run from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And at any point, if any of our attendees would like to pose a question to today's author, please feel free. We are in a meeting format to unmute yourself. You turn on your camera. You can ask a question here, or if you would feel more comfortable putting a question into the chat, please feel free to do so as well. And now it is my pleasure to turn the program over to a member of the Women in Law Section's Executive Committee and co-chair of the section's Annual Meeting and Programming Committee, Allie Wacker, to go ahead and get us started with some welcome remarks. Allie?
Thank you so much, Ernesto. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Allie Wacker. I am co-chair of the Women in Law Section's Programming Committee. I work closely with my co-chair, Laura Cowan, as well as our chair of section, Kaylin Gustafson, and the entire WILS Executive Committee to bring you engaging program material from this exceptional group of professionals throughout the year. Special thanks, of course, to Ernesto, who supports us in all of our efforts, including today's virtual book club event. Thank you, Ernesto. Before we dive into the book, we just wanted to share a few words about the Women in Law section. We have over 1,000 members, and we are dedicated to addressing critical issues impacting women attorneys and women in general. We are always looking to increase our membership and welcome women and men attorneys to our section. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or if you would like to join. As a member, you can participate as much or as little as you like. If you are interested in further developing leadership and speaking skills, you can join one of our committees, such as this one. You can follow the Women in Law section and receive updates on the NYSBA website, as well as LinkedIn. As I mentioned when I started, I am grateful to be a member of this section and co-chair of the Programming Committee. We do have two other events that we wanted to spotlight for you that are coming up soon. One is Getting Started with AI, a practical guide for confident engagement. Very timely. I hope you all are able to join us. It will be Tuesday, September 30th from 12 to 1 p.m. Ernesto is sharing on screen here as well. If you can jot it down, take a note, sign up on the NYSBA website. It will also be a great program. After that, we have Women on the Move, our annual event, which is scheduled this year for Wednesday, October 29th. The theme for this year is turning obstacles into opportunities, and the event will include 4 panels, which will allow for CLE credits, as well as a virtual networking event. This is one of my favorite programs throughout the year, and I sincerely hope you'll be able to join us for that. So with that overview, I'd like to introduce Laura. Today, we are discussing, as Ernesto said, the Lifestyle Lawyer Revolution. Live a life you love without leaving the law. And we are thrilled to welcome the author, Laura Cowan, who will talk to us about her career, the book, and of course, answer your questions. This is a really interesting book. It's both practical and thought-provoking. Being a lawyer who instigated my own revolution a few years ago, Laura's book really spoke to me. I think that there are a lot of things that we can all take away from this discussion and from reading her book. We have found in terms of format that an interactive book club meeting is the best meeting. So please unmute yourself or use the chat function for your questions. We will ask them as they come in. Laura is an author and attorney based in New York City. She's the founder of the law office of Laura Cowan, a boutique estate planning firm. She started her career as a CPA, working for Ernst & Young and Goldman Sachs before graduating from the University of Minnesota Law School in 2013. After launching her New York City estate planning practice in 2016 and turning it entirely virtual in March of 2020, Laura created the 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer in 2022 to share her secrets to building a profitable estate planning practice that you can run from anywhere. After serving more than 500 law firms in fewer than 3 years, Laura is on a mission to support her colleagues in living a life they love without leaving the law. This is very inspirational, but also practical. Laura, I'll turn it over to you for your welcoming remarks.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I have to say, every time I hear someone introduce me as the author, it's like, wait, what? That's me?
Yes, you did it. We're happy to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, like it's just remarkable to me that we're even here. But yeah, this book was definitely a labor of love, and to the extent that it can help other lawyers, especially other female lawyers, live a life they love without leaving the law, then that's really our goal. So I'm super excited to be here talking about it today.
Thank you. We're super excited to have you. Quick reminder for everyone, this is discussion format. Please take yourself off mute, put questions in the chat. We're happy to work through everything. So Laura, I'll kick off our discussion today with a few questions about your career. Many lawyers, myself included, as I mentioned earlier, dream of starting their own revolution. I personally wish I read your book before I started mine. Are you comfortable sharing with us a bit more about how you began your own revolution?
Yeah, so my revolution started, I would say 5 years ago during COVID. That's really kind of the thing that just kicked so many of these things off. As you mentioned in my bio, I've been practicing for about 10 years now, and I practiced estate planning here in the city for 5 years pre-COVID. And we all know the world was a different place
Yes.
pre-COVID in a lot of different ways. And so that was very traditional. That was what we knew back then and never really thought maybe there would be anything different. 9 to 5 at the office. We had Zoom back then, but it wasn't what I would call socially acceptable to really hire an attorney via Zoom and to
Yeah,
do everything virtually.
yeah, that's
So
great.
that was me pre-COVID. And then I obviously I'm in New York City, and everyone who's here knows that we shut down overnight, March of 2020. And I went to quarantine with my dad in Rhode Island, and I still had New York City bills to pay, right? So how do I run my practice from my dad's kitchen table in Rhode Island? So there was a real revolution just in terms of the technology, the what can we do now virtually. But I would say the bigger revolution in my mind is just a new way of thinking,
Yeah,
new way of thinking about being a lawyer.
yeah,
And what I discovered, not willingly, but after doing it for a while, was that there's a better way to do this, not only in terms of deciding what hours we want to work and where we work, but I think just in terms of thinking about ourselves as lawyers. In my opinion, we didn't have much of a choice, really. Society kind of put us in a box a little bit. You're a lawyer, you work a lot of hours, you make a lot of money. This is how it's done. It's 9 to 5, it's big law. And then all of that just sort of went away. And I don't really think that that mindset or that model works anymore. And so I turned my entire practice virtual overnight. And then a couple of years later, noticed that there were a lot of attorneys really wanting to take advantage of these new rules that we have, which is flexibility, working virtually, not necessarily working 80 hours a week. We talk about this in the book. What does it mean to be a good lawyer? And that's one of the things that we talk about that I think is really interesting. And if there's one goal that I have with this book, it's really to get lawyers to realize you can redefine what it means to be a good lawyer. And
yes.
so that's the overview of the book.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thinking about the parts of the book, which I love how you characterize it that way, I have some questions. But before we get too much more into them, Laura, is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of a summary of the book overall? Anything you'd like to tee up for folks as they're thinking through some questions they may have for you? If not, I can jump into mine.
Yeah, a couple of things. It's a good book for any lawyer. We do talk about estate planning because that's something that I focus on, but it's interesting for all lawyers. And I've even had people say people outside the profession found it interesting. So yeah, that's the last thing that I'll add in.
Yes, I agree with that. I work in corporate life. Reading your book made complete sense to me. It again, to me, it's just so practical, Laura, in terms of tips for day-to-day survival, I'll call it, right? How we all manage to get through our days.
Yeah, we
Um,
wanted it to be practical. That's one of the
yeah,
questions that I definitely wanted to get to. Why did I write the book? I've read
yes,
a lot of books, self-help books or books for lawyers, and I think we see a lot of the do what you love and the money will follow kind of advice that, in my opinion, really glosses over the harsh reality that it's hard being a lawyer.
it is.
If you're doing it well and you're doing a good job, it's hard, it's stressful. We have a lot placed on us. We have to do a good job for our clients. And I don't think it's really helpful to just say, well, do what you love and the money will follow. I think that we need tools that are a little bit beyond that at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Thank you for sharing your book with me and signing it. One thing you inscribed was encouraging me to take a big step. What inspired you to take a big step? Certainly set the backdrop with COVID and everything changing all around us, but what really helped you take this big step to write the book?
To write the book, well, it was partially because I've launched this 2-hour lifestyle lawyer community, which is a community of lawyers that are going through my program to learn how to do estate planning. And as part of that, we've had 550 lawyers go through it. So for research for the book, we did a lot of interviewing of the members in our community just to see what they were struggling with. And so the book is sort of setting the tone for what we believe in at 2HLL. And I just wanted to kind of get my philosophy out there. It's a way that I hope lawyers will see it and read it and see that there's a different way to think about this. So it's kind of like giving you permission to, to do a little bit less, or to at least acknowledge the reasons that I went to law school 25 years ago do not match my reality today. What do I do about it?
Yeah,
And we all have a law degree. We all went to law school because we wanted to do something important and help people. Maybe we didn't know what that meant, but that's what we can do with a law degree. And then you
yes,
fast forward 25 years and it's like the mortgage and the kids and the golden retriever and an aging parent. And all of a sudden, it's easy to feel trapped.
yes, it
And
is.
it is, yeah. So the book was written just to give people a way of, I don't want people to not use their law degree. I want lawyers to see that there's other ways of being a lawyer.
No, I think that's great. And in fact, we have other section members who either during COVID or through other aspects of their life really got into writing and really, try to, as you described, think about this way to express yourself, your work, your thoughts. So one of the things we do want to get into a little bit is about your process and your writing community and how you really came to that. But before that, and just again, help inspire folks who are here with us today, help continue to inspire authors who may be with us today. Maybe you can share with us a little bit more about some of the challenging aspects of writing a book. It can be so hard, I'm sure. I'm sure things changed as you were writing. Maybe you can also share with us a little bit from your perspective what changed the most when you were writing. So what was the most challenging, and before publishing, how did you change your approach, or maybe a specific chapter changed the most?
Yeah, so it's easy getting started, right? It's very easy getting started. You've got all these ideas and you're like, I'm going to write a book. We're law lawyers, so we like reading, we like writing, how hard can this be? Kind of thing. It's easy getting started. What's hard is getting it past the finish line. That was what I really noticed, and I've heard now others saying this, that kind of wrapping it up and finally picking the cover and all of that is challenging. But um, yeah, one tip that I have is just write a certain number of words per day. Once I had figured out, I knew what I wanted to write about. I knew I wanted it to represent what the lawyers in my community were feeling and how 2HLL was addressing that. And then it just became a matter of thinking about the overarching concepts that we wanted to get across and then getting it into chapters. There was a little bit of research involved, and you'll see that when you get into the book. But just starting off with writing a certain number of words per day, I think is a good tip. We had a publisher, Bestseller Publishing is who we hired to help us publish the book. It's just recently hit Amazon International Bestseller status, so we're excited about that. Yeah, so I didn't have to worry about that, but we did have to write the darn thing, and we
Yeah.
did. I did, and so it's doable. It's easy getting started. It's harder getting it past the finish line. So I think just one simple nugget that you can take away is a certain number of words per day.
That's great. That's very helpful. And I'm sure it was interesting to think about a schedule in terms of writing and meeting a goal of a set number of words a day. Can you share with us a little bit about what your schedule is like? I mean, one of the things I love so much about your book is you really encourage people to find balance, right? And to prioritize their values. And I think that's a challenge we face every day. And I find myself constantly trying to rebalance. So maybe you can share with us a little bit in this process of writing the book. How did you align these for yourself?
Yeah, so it's it's tough. You're always balancing practicing law, writing the book, the coaching. I think time blocking, these are really just practical tips. Time blocking a certain amount of time each day to get some writing done. Just making those baby steps. I've got complete control over my schedule. One of the ways that I manage it is I only see clients on certain days. For example, I only host client meetings on certain days, so I'm in kind of a mindset for that. And I limit the number of days that I meet with clients. I really sort of block off my schedule so everything's not all over the map, and that's relatively easy to do in estate planning. I mean, maybe harder in other practice areas, but yeah, it was really just a kind of blocking off the time, and it's a bit of a slog, but it's worth it when you finally see the book.
Mm. Calendar management is a challenge I face every day, so I appreciate that thought. Thank you for sharing.
The
Did
time,
it?
time, time blocking, what's the other word? There's another one as well. I'm blanking on it, but yeah.
Yeah, especially when access to your calendar is not always your own. Yes. Did it take you very long to write the book then, Laura? Or once you knew you wanted to write it, once you set out to starting writing it, once you blocked your time every day and set your goal for a number of words, how long did it actually take you to write the book?
It took, I would say, 18 months to a couple of years. It did take a while. We started off by interviewing a bunch of the lawyers in our community. And I think that's one of the strong points of the book, actually, and you've read it, so
Yes.
there's all of these, just very clear comments from our community about what they're struggling with and what they feel like they should be doing versus what they're not doing. And it was the same things, over and over, overwhelm and
Yeah.
feeling like I'm supposed to be doing it a certain way. One of the things that I really pride myself on in the book and that I learned as a coach, I've only been coaching for about 3 years, but when I launched my coaching business 3 years ago, the idea was I'm going to teach other lawyers how to make at least $10,000 a month doing estate planning. And this was sort of the opposite of what every other legal coach is doing, which is build $1 million law firm and, triple your revenue. And there's just all this pressure coming at us. Bigger is better, bigger is better. And what I really found, and it's funny because one of my coaches said to me, "You're kind of zagging when everyone else is zigging." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna raise my hand and say it's okay if you only want to make $10,000 a month because that's going to be a nice revenue for your family and you're still going to have time to coach your daughter's soccer team." And I
Yeah.
don't think anyone has said that up until now. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like we sneeze at $10,000 a month when for many lawyers, not only is that life-changing, but it's perfectly acceptable, assuming you can work virtually, you can set your schedule, and you can still coach your daughter's soccer team.
Yes.
So I think just admitting that, or being, willing to say, I mean, listen, as someone who supported herself my entire life, I get that revenue matters, right? I get that. But then there's always the question of when is more better, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can take a step back and say, I'm okay just making a certain amount if it's going to give me a trade-off.
Yeah. So two things you said on that I really appreciate. One is, and you said it earlier too, Laura, it's sort of giving ourselves permission to think differently, to evaluate what we're doing. You're right. We're just on the go, 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 go all of the time. And I think it's hard to give ourselves permission to think about our lifestyle and our values and how to bring that together.
Yes, especially when society is telling us we're supposed to be a certain way because we're lawyers, and that means you work a lot and you make a lot of money. And we all remember what it was like in law school. At least I remember in law school, everybody wanted the big law job and everybody wanted the top grades so you could get the big law job. And why? You know?
Yeah.
Like, now that I look back, I'm like, it's just so interesting because so few lawyers really work in big law. And listen, I have nothing against big law in any capacity, but that is, kind of like the carrot that's dangled. And it doesn't necessarily match with what a lot of people want. Having said that, if big law is your thing, that's great too. The point of the book is that you get to decide. That's really the point of the book.
Yes. And then the second thing that I wanted to pick up on from what you said earlier are the testimonials. I was wondering whether you had informed those before you thought to write the book or if it was part of your writing process, because they're great. And, I think part of what enables us to give ourselves permission is this pure benchmarking, right? And trying to understand where other people are at, or are you too
Yeah.
far off, like your coach was telling you?
That was part of the book that we did that on purpose.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember now how it worked. We had a questionnaire that we put together, knowing that it was going to be part of the book, and we sent it out to our community. At that time, it was a smaller community, maybe just a couple of hundred of lawyers. And boy, did we get some fun answers. I don't know if you remember some of the answers in there, but why did you become a lawyer? My very favorite part of the book is indoor work.
Yes, I like that one too. It reminds me of my son. I always say he's an indoor cat.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny the reasons that come up, but
Yes.
that's question number one. What was the why 20 years ago, and what's your
Yeah.
why now? It might be different, and that's okay.
Yes. I love the challenge, challenging ourselves. It's such a good theme for everyone to think about and take away.
Yeah, so those questions were definitely we asked those on purpose because we knew we were going to be sprinkling them throughout the book. There's no better way really to explain a concept, I think, than to give examples from real
Yes.
life. And I always find it very comforting when I hear other lawyers say, I really struggled with this, or I was really stuck with that. And then I realized, oh, it's not just me. So we
Yeah.
wanted a lot of that in the book.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So as you set out to write this book, Laura, did you work on your own? Did you think about joining writers groups? What
I
was
worked
your approach to it?
Oh, yeah, I didn't join any writers groups. That actually didn't even occur to me until I saw your question in there. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have joined a writers group. I didn't, although having said that, I know other published authors, and writers groups are probably very helpful. I think there's a way to write a book, right? A right way and a wrong way, that they probably teach. But I know I wasn't part of any writers groups or anything like that. It was just me, my ideas. They were all in my head. I knew what I wanted to say. And this is something that I would say to anyone who's on the call who's thinking, I want to write a book. If the ideas are all in your head, and I'm sure they are, like, we're all kind of thinking about these things all the time. I've spent 10 years building my practice in New York City, 5 pre-COVID, 5 post. I spent a lot of time thinking about the ideas in this book. It really was just a matter of getting them into paper.
Mhm.
So my process was just basically, I have it all in my head. I just need to get it down onto paper and then getting it past the finish line.
That makes sense. So it doesn't sound like you encountered writer's block. It sounds like you knew where you were going, you sat down to do it, and you made the time to do it, and you were able to do it. But did you experience anything like that when writing?
I didn't, and I feel sort of weird saying I had no writer's block. It really was just kind of all the ideas in my head. Now, having
Yeah.
said that, some chapters were easier to write than others. Writing a chapter about me growing up and delivering papers and working at Long John Silver's, that was easy. That's just my history. Coming up with really nice, really nice content about AI, which is changing at the
Yes.
speed of light.
Yes.
That was a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And then just kind of weaving it all together.
Yeah.
It's hard to weave it together in a way that makes it a nice story.
Yes. I agree. You shared with us that you hired a publishing firm, which I know for some other authors that we have worked with, they have had experience with, and some have actually self-published. So, um, I think either path can get you to where you need to be, but I hope that the path you took was supportive and
Yes,
enabled you to get the book out.
it was. I know next to nothing about self-publishing, but we did work with a publishing firm. We had to pay for it, obviously, so there's
Yeah.
that to it, but it did get published. They were great. We worked with Bestseller Publishing. We had a good experience with them. They've helped many people that I know, not just in the legal industry who are writing books, but in the entrepreneurial community who are writing books. So that was how we stumbled upon them. But they helped us with the process. They didn't do any of the writing or anything. It was more brainstorming the flow of the book and the chapters. And of course, they proofread it and did whatever they have to offer,
Yeah.
whatever their side of the thing is. But then
Yeah.
they got it published and helped us with the cover. That was kind of fun,
Yeah.
and then
That's
helped us
great.
promote it as well. So we had a good experience with them.
That's great. So I'm sure you are working on other things. Is another book in the works, or do you have other opportunities that you'd like to tease with folks here or share with folks here, depending how far along they may be?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're still building out the estate planning community at 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyers. So if anyone's on the call looking to add estate planning, that's something that we're building that business even as we speak, because I don't think that estate planning is going to go anywhere, and I'm a big proponent of helping other lawyers, especially other women, start
Yes.
their own practice.
Yeah.
I was 39 when I opened my practice, which, my God, I felt like I was ancient at the time. I was like, I can't believe how old I am. I can't believe I felt like I was so far behind. But I was 35 when I went to law school, so that was part of it as well. But to the extent that that other women are entrepreneurial and they want to have their own law firm, it's not easy. I'm not going to pretend that it's easy, but it is yours. It is your business. And so that's what we're doing at 2HLL. In terms of another book, yes, I will have other books. I have lots to say. It's just a matter of what the next one will be. And heck, if you have any ideas, let me know what you want to hear. But yeah, we'll have more to say, because there's a lot of exciting things happening right now in the legal world. AI, it's very scary, a lot of scary things happening, but there's a lot of opportunity as well.
Yes. And being someone who practices in the AI space, I have to say that I was really impressed with your tips, Laura, and the again practical ways that we can think about incorporating them safely into our day to day. I really think that this is, you know, we're just on the frontier of understanding how to do this, all of us. And I could tell reading the book, I really appreciated that you took to research it for yourself. And, you really are making recommendations that can support people and accomplish your goals, right? Of like trying to make your day easier, trying to align your values.
Yeah, AI
I
is
thought
not
that was
something.
very well done.
Oh, good. Thank you. That was the one that we had to rewrite quite a bit because it
Mm.
just changes at the speed of light and it's probably outdated already.
No,
Who
it's
knows?
not. It's really good advice.
Well, the overarching concept is let's not be afraid of this. I don't think it's going to replace us. It's going to change things. Depending on your practice area, we're all using it different ways. In trusts and estates, obviously, I'm not drafting estate planning documents on it. I use it to
No.
produce marketing materials and things like
Yeah.
that. But I think the bigger idea here is trying to, I think that the lawyer of the future that the public wants to see is one that's relying on AI for efficiencies and process improvements and things like that. But I think especially in an area like estate planning, people want to see a real person, whether it's in
Yes.
person or via Zoom. That needs to be there as well. So it's like a combination, AI plus lawyer.
Yes, agree. And it's really, learning how to use it in ways that are practical, are safe, and do make sense. And again, I really thought your recommendations in the book were super and can help somebody think of something that they didn't realize they could do, or, save a little bit here or there. We're all so busy. I saw Melissa, you said it's true.
We're all so busy, and just to not be
Yeah.
afraid of it, fear sells. And so I think that there's you know, uh, some proponents that are sort of, a little bit naysayers. I think it's an opportunity. And even if it means the job that we have today might not be the same job we have in the future, well, maybe we'll like the job we have in the future more, so don't put your head in the sand is what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's, again, practical advice. So I have some more questions, Laura. Should we take a pause, take a pulse of our audience? We've been
Yeah.
talking quite a bit. See if others want to come off mute, have some questions for Laura. I am monitoring the chat as well. Let's open it up to our audience.
Melissa says there's not enough hours in the day. Yes, we all agree with that.
Yes, we certainly do. Ernesto, again, just reminded everyone, please feel free to unmute yourself. For any questions you have, put them in the chat. I have some more questions for you, Laura. We can continue to work through, but I wanted to take a moment to see if any of our members and participants have any questions for you.
My name is Kathleen Campbell, and I am in the 2HLL program with Laura. I did it independently. It's an excellent program. And Laura's book is also excellent. And I will tell you that the day-to-day ideas that she has shared with people are fabulous. It really does help you streamline what you're doing. So kudos. And kudos to NYSBA for having her today on this, opportunity to chat with her for the book club. Thank you.
Kathleen, thank you for chiming in. It's
Hi.
good to hear from you. I saw
That's
you
very
were on there.
kind. Thank you for sharing, Kathleen. Oh, we have a question for my co-chair, Laura. Do you personally have any guidelines on how many hours a day you work and how many hours a day you spend on yourself or your family? Appreciating every day is different. Just wondering if you have a guideline or a goal. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, another Laura. Yeah, I have. This is how I've distilled my career. I do still practice estate planning, but I've limited it to 4 clients per month, and that's a certain amount of revenue that I bring in consistently. I could certainly do many, many more clients per month, but what I found is that I have so many business interests. So, Laura, what I do is I spend a couple of hours a day on my law firm, and that's serving, 4 clients per month in estate planning. And I devote the rest of my time to my coaching business. And the other thing that I have found is that it's not so much the number of hours per day, but I've noticed that my day has shifted. I no longer get up thinking, okay, I'm going to work from 9 to noon and then have an hour lunch and then work from 1 to 5, how it was for 18 billion years. I now kind of get up and I think, maybe I'm going to do like a solid 6 hours, get a lot done. And then maybe a little bit later in the evening. So I'm probably working I mean, I'm probably working 40 hours a week if you add it all up, but it's broken up in a slightly different way. And the other thing that I'll say is that I'm really fussy about my schedule. What I've learned about myself is that it doesn't help if I have client meetings 5 days a week, because then I'm kind of stressed 5 days a week, because that's when I want to be my best. And so I really try to block, client meetings on these days, or maybe only in the mornings. So I know I'm going to have the afternoons just to focus on my own work. So it is possible that the flip side is, remember how I said I limit it to 4 clients a month? I'm very confident I'm going to get 4 new clients a month because my practice is very established, but I turn down anyone beyond that, or I push them to the next month. And that could be a hard thing to do for some people, because you're basically saying no to revenue. But I'm doing it because I want the lifestyle, or the ability to focus on other businesses. Does that answer that question? I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, very. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. And Laura. We have one comment in the chat and one question, Laura. A comment from Mary Angela. AI is very complicated. It is. You're not old school. It is, and it's evolving every day. Having a bar certification in both New York and Rhode Island, and participating in both states, practicing in both states, I prefer that New York did not embrace all the technology that Rhode Island did. And she looks forward to reading your book, Laura.
Oh, good. Yes. I hope you love it. Let me pop back before we get to Yagmar's question. I do want to point something out, only to be completely fair for Laura's question. I don't have kids, and I think it's important to point that out. I was able to kind of run around and really focus on building my practice without parental responsibilities. And I think it's only fair to mention that. It's, if you're a mom or a dad, it's going to be a little bit harder for you. So I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that. I think it's hard for all of us, but I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
So we've got Yagmur. I'm a lawyer back in Turkey, waiting for the California bar exam. Oh, that's exciting.
Yes.
I want to create my path because working in a big law firm is not my dream. Do you have any advice? Wow, we have a lawyer in Turkey. Okay, waiting for her California bar exam. Yeah, I think if you are entrepreneurial and willing to kind of hang your own shingle, do it. Do it. It's scary, but if you don't want to work in a big law firm, don't go work in a big law firm. I would pick an area of law that you can practice as a solo. So maybe something like estate planning, contracts, trademark. There's different things. If you want to do patent litigation, you've got to go to a big firm. But if you just want to do small business law, maybe you can do that on your own. Yagmar, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. And then the second thing I would say is I would recommend investing in coaching if you can find it. I know programs that teach lawyers how to do trademarks, and there's other things. You want to be careful. You want to do your research, but the wheel has kind of been created for how to run, a law firm, and there's coaches out there that'll really fast track your success. I've invested a lot in coaching over the 10 years I've done this, not just from other lawyers, but from people completely outside the legal industry. And that would be the advice that I would give. Get yourself into a group of entrepreneurial attorneys, because it's a different skill set. You may be really good at practicing immigration law, but how do you get clients? You've got to know how to do both. I hope that's helpful.
Laura, if I may, I think one of the things we haven't talked about yet, but I also found really helpful in terms of self-help throughout the book, are the exercises. So I do think you brought some of your passion for coaching, into the book through the exercises. And I think that, to pick up the book, to work through the book, it's reading, but it's also really driving your understanding for yourself of what your interests are, what your values are, and again, how to align them, how to bring them together. And I think you do it in such a way, Laura, that you try to help us understand some of the day-to-day traumas that maybe we experience, the little t, the small t, right? And again, it's like this balancing. How how do we be self-aware? How do we understand where our interests are? How do we understand what our day-to-day is like every day? And to me, I think a lot of it about rebalancing, but I think, Yagmir, to answer the question, I would also direct you to Laura's book because she does push finding your path through self-exercise.
Yes, yes. And one of the things that we talk about in the book, and I'm just looking at my notes here, that the Cal Newport exercise that really kind of flies in the face of do what you love and the money will follow. There's a way to find happiness at work, even if you're not overly passionate about it. And that's having autonomy, which I think is really key because oftentimes when we work for a law firm, we don't really have any autonomy. And that's part of why we're so unhappy. Not always, I'm not saying always, I'm just saying sometimes. Competence, knowing that you're good at what you're doing and that that you're helping people, and then relatedness, a connection to other people. Autonomy, competence, relatedness. You could mesh that into most professions, right? So you may not have woken up thinking I desperately want to be a civil litigator, but if you're able to, to meld those three things in, that might make it more bearable. And I see another question here, talk about working with a drafter. What did I say about working with a drafter?
I'm not sure I heard that either. Catherine, would you like to come off mute and share more about your question?
Yeah.
I wonder if, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I think so I saw your through the Bar Association, your virtual presentation. And I think that what you were saying was that you, when you were first starting, you worked with a lot of community groups to get business and you were business generating. But then I think you made a reference to working with somebody who was actually doing the work, or that was kind of how you were juggling the business creation and the productivity. But I didn't really understand. And so if I'm off base or if I didn't hear it correctly.
No, I got you now. I thought that's what you meant, but I was like, did I say it or was it in my book? Yeah. So what we're talking about here is one of the concepts that we teach our lawyers in an estate planning capacity, but it's probably like this in all areas of law. You've got to be good at three things if you're going to run your own law firm. You've got to be able to attract clients, right? Get the leads in the door without spending a ton on ads, or at least having a good ROI. You've got to be able to close, which is not easy in estate planning, but we teach you how to do that. And then you've got to be able to execute the work. We call it ACE, attract, close, execute. And the attracting and the closing are what generate revenue. So hosting workshops, networking, good networking like B&I that makes sense and is a good use of your time, getting to know your community, educating your community, and then bringing people in for a consult and getting them to say yes and hire you. What's left after that is the execute, which in estate planning worlds is drafting the documents. And this is something that we recommend that lawyers do in the beginning when they're new to estate planning. There's software that can help you with that, and you should absolutely be very proficient with that. But eventually, a paralegal can help you with the drafting, Catherine. And that's one of the first things that you should outsource once you're comfortable doing it yourself, because that's going to free you up to go generate more revenue. And what happens is that most lawyers get caught in the weeds. They're too busy in the executing that they're not doing the things that generate revenue. And so that's what I meant by hiring a drafter. And I think that you'll find that most lawyers who do estate planning, once they start to get a nice amount of business, their time is better spent having a paralegal do the first draft of the documents. That's what I meant.
Awesome. Thank you.
Because it takes about 2 hours, right? And a lot of it is just data entry. And so by that point in time, you've kind of done the heavy lifting, you've done the consult, you've done the design, and the first draft can usually be generated by a paralegal.
And Laura, totally. I think something I also took away from that in reading, thank you, Catherine, for clarifying your question, was that you like to spend your time on the relationship side. And that's something that you found through your self-exploration and discovery, and a value that you wanted to dedicate or align your time to.
Yes, and the relationship side, it's so important. Again, I've not practiced other areas of law, so I'm not going to pretend that I can speak to other areas. But with estate planning, and I just think in general in 2025, for all of you on the call, you all know hopefully that AI is now, people are going to AI now. Who's a good lawyer near me? They're not going to Google, they're going to ChatGPT,
Yes.
right? And so there's a new game being played, and the game is who's the most trustworthy. And
Yeah.
so this is the way that these tools are built out, are to kind of flesh out who is trustworthy. And so from an estate planning standpoint, I rely on technology for a lot of the process, but I know people are hiring me because they meet me and they trust me.
Yes.
And so that relationship part is very important. In fact, I just had a woman yesterday who came back and hired me 6 years after her consult. She wasn't ready 6 years ago. It took her that long, but she remembered that I treated her well. And so this is something that everyone on the call knows. We all know we have to treat our clients well, and that's the relationship is going to build and drive the business.
Yeah. And will, be important for you to understand where you want to spend your time and build your practice.
Yes, yeah. And when do you rely on the technology and when do you really need to be there for your clients? When lawyers come into our group and they're often are worried, like, how can I get someone to hire me for estate planning? How can I charge what I'm worth? And I always tell them, we're going to rely on AI for a lot of things, but when you get into that design meeting, for example, where you're designing the estate plan, AI is not going to ask, tell me about the bad relationship you have with your stepbrother, or tell me about what happened when your mom died and why that's been hard for you. I mean, these are the reasons that people hire lawyers, and so you want to devote time and energy to that meeting. You don't want to devote time and energy to sending out follow-up emails saying, here's the Zoom link, right? That should be
Right.
automated. And so it's just knowing where you need to be and where you don't need to be.
Yes. And I think that's true not just with technology, but also something I struggle with is delegation, right? Like understanding how to ask for help, where to ask for help, and knowing who you can rely on for the kind of help you may need.
Right, right. Yeah, bringing in staff, and it's hard to do in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do I have the resources? No, but now I'm doing everything myself. This is what makes it tricky. And of course, they don't teach any of this in law school, which I
No.
I don't really blame law schools, because you know what? We need to learn how to read case law. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, I don't really blame them, but I do think that it's when most lawyers are not going to spend their whole career at a big law firm, you're either going to be working for yourself or you're going to be at a smaller firm. We need to know more about, the numbers.
Yeah.
What is revenue? What is profit?
Yes.
What a lot of lawyers don't realize is you might bring in 10,000 a month in revenue, which feels like a huge accomplishment, and it is. But if it costs you 11,000 in overhead and marketing to get it, you're now in the hole. And
Yeah.
that's a very bitter pill to swallow, right? So
Yes.
these are the things that we need to learn.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone else like to come off mute or drop a question or comment in the chat? We have some time with Laura. Let's take advantage of it. And maybe, Laura, while folks are thinking, you can share some information about how we can all be in touch with you after the book club. How can we
Yeah,
join the 2HL community, HLL community, excuse me, or how can we follow you? How can we stay
yeah.
in touch?
Well, definitely check out my website, which is, I'll just drop it in the chat. That's the website. And then my email is laura@twohourlifestylelawyer.com. If you're interested in learning how to do estate planning, that's exactly what we teach. We've had over 550 lawyers in the course. And one of the things that I'm most proud of, and Kathleen can attest to this, we're all in a Facebook group. And one of the things that I think is nice about this, when I started this business 3 years ago, I had no intention of building a community. I'm shocked that I even have one, but we do. And it's just a really nice community. One of the things that I'm really proud of, very supportive, very kind of nurturing, and there's no politics. Thank God we've kept that out, right? It's just like a safe place to come and to be with other lawyers, because I think it's a little bit lonely too. And we're all working virtually, and
Yeah.
if you're working a solo, you're really alone. And so community is something that's just is lacking, and people really need it, and that's something that we've been able to create. But I'm happy to answer any questions via email. If anyone has any questions at all, it's the Laura@2hourlifestylelawyer.com.
I will just follow up. This is Kathleen again, on what you just said. Just the other day, I myself put out a question in the Facebook chat, and I got an immediate response, and it was just reassuring to me. I think I knew what I was what I wanted to do in the plan, but somebody hopped on and said, "Yes, this is what the right thing to do. You're doing." So I think it is really reassuring, and the community is really wonderful. People are responsive. There is no hate email. It's all positive and supportive, and which is fabulous. It just does give you that sense of community. Yeah. So I echo what you just said from my perspective.
Thank you. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of, and I think we're here to support lawyers building an independent firm. The goal is not dependency on us. The goal is, we want to give you all the tools that you need to succeed, and then we want you to go build your empire. And we'll be there to support you in that. But because this is a women in law session, I will say it's a big deal to me helping other women start a business. It was life-changing for me. I was 39 when someone first said, I'll give you a check for $4,500 to do a revocable living trust. And up until that time, I'd had really, really good jobs. I mean, I worked at Goldman Sachs. I worked for amazing, incredible people, but I never felt like I was really showing what I could really do. And it was life-changing having someone say, yes, I'm going to hand you a check. Now, it's hard. You've got to repeat it now, month after month, right? That's just the first hurdle. But to the extent that that it helps you build your own brand, maybe a business that you could possibly sell one day, that's what we're trying to help with. This is a good question. What's the significance of the 2 hour? So Dwayne, the name came from when I launched 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyer 3 years ago. It was, I'm here, it's COVID, I'm working a couple of hours a day on my estate planning practice, and I was making more than 10,000 a month, honestly, but that was kind of the hook that we used to draw people in. The fact that you can work part-time in estate planning, make $10,000 a month, and have enough time to pick up your kids from school. And so I had someone help me with the name, and they came up with 2 Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, and I thought that sounds catchy. I'm gonna stick with that. But we're not necessarily, many of our lawyers are like, I'm perfectly happy working 8 hours a day. I just want to do it from home, and I want to be able to do it 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours after the kids go to bed, or something like that, and so we're not limiting you in any way. You can work more than 2 hours if you want to.
To me, Laura, it's really about the process of self-discovery, right? As we keep coming back to aligning your values to your work and trying to understand how to do that, whether you're an estate lawyer, solo practitioner, another area, or in any other industry. To be quite honest with you, I feel like your approach is something that we should all read up on and do for ourselves. I think, like Kathleen is saying, it's just nice to do something for yourself and be a part of a community where others share that frame of mind.
Yeah, that frame of mind. And the exercises are good. I always tell everyone, be sure to do the very last exercise in the book, and don't skip ahead, read the book. But I think the last exercise is really the most important one. And let's just get back to basics here. Let's just get back to, maybe just applauding ourselves a little bit more for all of the things that we have accomplished. That's what the last exercise is about. So we have another question. Oh, for people who already practice estate planning, is the course not aimed at them? And do follow-up? Do I do T&E administration? Address those random questions outside of pure planning? Yeah, so Tamara, we have, I would say, about 30% of the people in our community have been doing estate planning already when they come in for our course. We've got people who've been doing it for 30 years, but their systems are outdated, et cetera. So many of the people, 70%, are new to estate planning, but 30% are not. And those people, what we're really driving at, we're teaching the same process and they're going to be raising their fees almost certainly, because that's always something that lawyers struggle with, charging more than $200 for a will. So the experienced lawyers will be raising their fees and then also improving their systems and their processes to improve profitability. Because again, it's a win if you go from I'm making 10,000 a month, but my overhead's 5, to I'm making 10,000 a month and my overhead is now 3, right? That's a win right there. You're taking home $2 more thousand a month. So sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking your current processes as opposed to running out and getting a whole bunch of new clients. So it's beneficial for both.
And do you focus on some of these related areas, Laura? Tax questions?
We don't teach the advanced planning. What we're teaching is start serving your community with basic wills or basic revocable living trusts for probate avoidance. If someone comes to you and they've got a really big estate and they might need some taxable planning, we're not teaching that in the program, although many of the lawyers in our community do that kind of work. So maybe you could kind of co-counsel, but we're not really teaching that. We're teaching the A to Z blueprint for a revocable living trust package, which a lot of your clients are going to pick.
That's great. Thank you. Well, I do see that we are coming up on time, Laura, but I did want to share with our participants if they know of other book groups or organizations that might be interested in having a similar conversation with you. I know you're open to that. So please feel free to connect with Laura outside of the book club event. And thank you for joining us. Laura, thank you for sharing with us today and taking the time to tell us about your career and what I think is really a life-changing book. So thank you to everyone here, and of course to you, Laura. I'm not sure if you want to close with anything more or share anything else with our groups while we're together.
Yeah, I'll just do a final rah-rah. You know, it's hard being a lawyer, and the times are hard right now, just in general. There's so much uncertainty. I think to the extent that the book can just make you feel a little bit better about some of the choices that you've made and maybe feel a little bit less stuck, that's what we hope for. So if you read it and you love it, the last thing I would say is please leave a review on Amazon. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Ellie, for the wonderful book club. We do appreciate your time and for all of those practical tips. And again, for those looking who have not yet read Laura's book, the link is on our event page that will take you to the Amazon webpage to purchase the book. Again, on behalf of the Women in Law section, Laura, thank you so much. And we look forward to future collaborations, hopefully when you have your next book. So this does conclude the book club, and thank you for choosing New York State Bar Association programs. And we hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.